It is Magic Month, and I want to talk with you about a particular superpower of invisibility. That's making yourself, making objects, making thoughts invisible. Now, that might sound like, oh, that sounds nice. That's a cute idea, We've seen movies and stuff where invisibility is presented in a certain way. There's the Invisible Man. There's superheroes or supervillains that have this capacity to make themselves camouflage into the background or completely disappear to the naked eye, right? So you can play with the sense of that, but I want you to, the step one of you utilizing this superpower is to actually eliminate everything you think it's supposed to look like, everything you think it's supposed to be like, because the way that you activate invisibility will be different than what you see on the TV. And if you don't see it in that way, you will think that you're not actually being that power. Okay. So what if every visual aid that you've had of superpowers is actually there to limit you, not to empower you to know how you can be with this? So before we can go into, so that's step one, before we can go into the activation, we also have to eliminate the concept of secret. Okay. If you want to keep something secret, what you often do is you contract around it. This does not make something invisible. Your contraction around it, your desire to secretize something, makes it more visible. I know it's crazy, but it's literally everything is opposite it appears to be. I have a great story. Actually, I had my autistic son. We were having a play date. We don't often have play dates. So he was like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 at the time. And he's like, well, I want my friend to come over, but I'm really afraid that he's going to try and play with my new toy. And he did not want to share his new toy. And I said, why don't we just put it away and you can play with it later? He's like, no, I want to play with it when he's here, but I don't want him to try and touch it. And I was like, what can we do? And so I explained what I'm going to tell you to do in the next step. So the boy shows up, and right away, my oldest kid started to put that energy of my precious, wanting to keep it secret. And what was the first thing? That kid was like, what is that? What are you hiding? What is over there? What's going on? I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. So then I kind of nudged my kid. And I'm like, do you remember what I told you? And then he changed it, and within an instant, the other boy completely lost interest and got distracted and went off and played with something else. So know that when you are trying to hide something, when you're trying to keep something secret, you're putting a big over here sign that actually draws energy to it. It draws people's attention to everything that you want to keep secret. So all the things that you would like to be invisible to others that you've been keeping secret, let that secret go. Let all that secret energy disappear. And then do step 3. So step 1, you got it. Step 2, no secrets. Step 3, make it infinite. So now how do you do that? That's your first question, probably, if you've never heard this tool before. How do you make something infinite? Well, I'll give you a few kind of energetic perceptions, but this is where you actually discover your superpower for you. Like I said, no two people can do the same thing in the same way. We all engage and be magic in different ways. So to make something infinite, it's kind of like taking the energy of something. So example could be that toy. And you pull the energy out and you make it bigger than the universe. You make it so big that no one can find it. The how that you do that, just by me bringing that up, you're already able to do it. You don't need to figure out the how. The how is what will keep you from all your magic. Just ignore it. If your brain starts to talk, how, just go, shh, go away, brain. I don't need you right now. There's no mind in magic. Mm-mm. So take something and make it infinite. Take secret, something that you've been hiding, a secret that you have, and actually make it infinite, and make it so infinite that it disappears. Now, will you have objects actually disappearing? You might. Just ask for them to come back. If you suddenly find objects disappearing, I can't find my keys, I can't find this, I can't find that. Well, you might actually have a capacity to make things disappear, to actually translocate them into other areas. Okay. The more you play with your capacities and powers, the more that you're going to be using them to your advantage, not to your disadvantage, like keys disappearing right before you need to leave the house and you're late for work. Okay, so that step 3 is to make it infinite, and step 4 is to actually engage with this capacity. Just like with anything, it's a muscle, and if you use it, it grows. So if you use this capacity, it will become easier for you. You will have a greater sense of it when it's showing up or when it is required, and it will grow. It will become more potent and powerful. And so what's a way that you can engage and kind of play with this capacity? Experiment. Like, for example, if you're the kind of person that when you walk into a room, most people turn and notice you, okay? Try right before you walk into a room to make yourself infinite. Just ask to make yourself infinite and walk in the room and see if no one notices you. If there's someone kind of annoying you and you're just like, oh my God, I wish they would go away, experiment. Be like, okay, can I make myself infinite to this person? What's amazing is when you experiment with this, people will kind of even, like, I've played with it, and they'll like look in my direction as though they're looking through me, as though my body's not even there. Now, it's not like in the movies where I look down at my hand and it's turning invisible and I can't see it anymore. And oh, it's so dramatic and theatrical. But somehow they don't see me. I'm there, but they don't see me. Play with it with those items. Like if, say like you live in a house and there's like one donut left and like there's donut thieves all over the place, your kids, your partner, and you want that donut. Experiment of ask to make that donut infinite, and notice if you're like, how come no one's eating this? How many days can you leave it there? How many days can you make it totally infinite that no one even notices it's there? That would actually be a really fun one. So keep playing with it. If the first time, people find the donut and they eat it, it doesn't mean you failed. It's just keep playing with it. Try it with something else. Try it again. And ask, how else could I be with this? What would it take for this to be so infinite nobody knew it was there? What would it take for this donut to be truly invisible to everyone except for me? So fun. So play with this. Let me know what shows up for you. I love hearing stories about where someone's done this. Maybe, they were like kind of running a red light and they realized it was one of those photo ones, and you're like, and they, instead of like trying to hide, which the camera will capture, you make your car so infinite that I've heard of really blurry photos, or I've heard of like no photo showing up whatsoever. So play with it, discover your capacity in this area. And if you're playing with it, here's another piece. Some people, I've heard the opposite, where they've actually complained, like, no one ever sees me and I'm always talking and like, it's like no one can hear me. It's like I'm not even in the room. Well, you might have such a capacity with invisibility that you're making yourself invisible all the time. If you acknowledge that capacity, claim, own, and acknowledge it. Holy man, I got a crazy awesome capacity with this. And then you can start to use it when it's to your advantage, and you won't accidentally be using it when it's not to your advantage. Because there's times where you're going to want to be seen, you're going to want to show up, and you're going to want to command attention. Those are not the time to be invisible. Right? So how can I use this capacity to my advantage is a great question for you to be asking and playing with. Leave a comment below. Tell me your story. How does this show up for you? What are you experimenting with and playing with? If you like the video, please like it, subscribe, share this with a friend. Let's create a more magical world together. And I'll see you in the next video.